소리가 뭐.
Oh my gosh.
Have you ever wondered what would happen if the world didn't wait until New Year's to fall apart? In just a few short days, right before Christmas, the planet got hit hard. An explosion ripped through a European highway. A nursing home in America went up in flames. An Asian market burned to ashes. An entertainment icon caught fire. Shots rang out in a government building. Millions of believers poured into the streets, and police cracked down on crowds right in the heart of Europe. 7 events, 7 blows in a row. No breaks in between. Do you feel like time is getting squeezed? Are you sure these are just random news stories? Or is it a pattern that's being set up? If chaos is speeding up right before the holy season, what's waiting ahead? Don't jump to conclusions, because pretty soon, all the pieces will start coming together. So don't miss a single bit of information. Okay. And I won't keep you waiting long. We'll dive deep together into the hidden truths behind these chaotic events. Let's get started with 1. Horrifying tanker explosion in Caserta, Italy. Sky lights up in flames. Everything shakes. Boom! The screen shakes hard. And right at the start of this viral video, the whole sky ahead gets ripped open by a huge fireball. Did you hear that instinctive yell? I wasn't there, but watching those shaky frames, it feels like I'm standing right on the A1 highway when hell suddenly breaks loose in broad daylight. The video was shot from a car a few hundred yards from the scene. It shows traffic moving along, then everything stops dead. A quick crash, the LPG tanker flips over, and just seconds later, a bright white flash hits before a massive column of fire swallows the road. Did you notice how eerily quiet it is for a moment before the blast roars like thunder right through the screen? Thick black smoke rolls up, blanketing the sky for miles around. The camera pans fast, showing the concrete roadway torn apart. Part of the overpass ahead collapsed, cars left in the lanes like tossed aside toys. Hundreds of drivers stuck. The A1 toward Rome shut down completely for hours, and the whole Caserta area filled with that strong gas smell. No deaths reported, but that strange everyone's okay part actually gives a lot of folks the chills. After hours of closure, Italian police and firefighters announced the early findings. The LPG tanker had a head-on sideswipe with a heavy truck that lost control, causing a gas leak. Even a tiny spark from metal scraping was enough to set off the chain reaction blast. Strong winds in the area made the fire spread faster than expected, collapsing part of the overpass structure and burning up the road below. Everything, according to the report, can be explained by engineering and physics, but watching that video again around this Christmas season, many people pause and think, the Bible mentions signs like this in Luke 21:11. There will be great earthquakes, famines, and pestilences in various places, and fearful events, and great signs from heaven. And in Matthew 24:7, nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. These words don't prove anything, but they plant an uncomfortable question in your mind. Is it all just coincidence? The video ends in black smoke and sirens blaring non-stop, but that uneasy feeling doesn't stop there. If one sudden explosion can turn a major European highway into rubble in seconds, what happens when similar things show up somewhere else? And when we turn to stories here in America, will the next one give us enough time to brace ourselves? 2. Horrific explosion at nursing home in Bristol, Pennsylvania. Fierce flames swallow everything, many dead and injured. On the morning of December 23rd, while many families were still getting ready for a peaceful end-of-year holiday, a gas explosion ripped through the Silver Lake Healthcare Center nursing home in Bristol, Pennsylvania. No warning, no time to react, just a sharp blast that turned what was supposed to be a safe haven for the elderly into a pile of rubble. leaving at least 2 people dead and dozens more hurt in the chaos. Bristol is a small town along the Delaware River, less than 20 miles from Philadelphia, where life usually moves at a slow, familiar pace. But that morning, in the cold below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, leaking gas from the heating system had quietly built up inside the 2-story building. When the explosion hit, the back section, nearly 30 feet high, collapsed completely. Flames shot up fiercely, engulfing the living areas of more than 100 elderly residents, the most vulnerable folks in our society. The sound of the blast echoed more than 2 miles away, making nearby residents think a bomb had gone off. Over 50 ambulances, along with helicopters and rescue teams from Bucks County, rushed to the scene in harsh conditions. Search dogs and sonar equipment were brought in to look under the rubble piled meters thick. 21 people were pulled out alive, including 5 in critical condition from severe burns and serious injuries. We look at those numbers and realize that behind them are lives turned upside down in just a few short seconds. Pennsylvania officials said the initial cause was a gas leak combined with an old heating system, leading to an uncontrollable explosion. Governor Josh Shapiro, who was at the scene, called it a Christmas tragedy, as thick black smoke covered an area nearly a square mile wide, and hundreds of nearby homes had to be evacuated. For many of us, that sight isn't just an accident, it's a direct hit to our sense of safety, which was already pretty fragile. The Bible has warned about times like this. In Luke 21, verses 25 through 26, it says, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity. People will faint from terror, apprehensive of what is coming on the world." And Revelation 16:18 makes it clear. "Then there came flashes of lightning, rumblings, peals of thunder, and a severe earthquake. No earthquake like it has ever occurred since mankind has been on earth. So tremendous was the quake." These words ring out like a warning bell, not to blame anyone, but to remind us. Of course, many people say this is just the result of poor maintenance and rundown infrastructure. But the fact that this tragedy happened right before Christmas and struck the weakest among us means the debate can't be wrapped up that easily. Is this really just a technical failure, or a reminder that chaos is creeping into even the places we thought were safest? The event in Bristol isn't just sad news. It's a clear warning. When order starts to crack, no one is left untouched. And if America is already burning like this, then what waits on the other side of the ocean might leave us speechless in ways we can't even imagine. 3. Terrible fire at Pasar Pagi Pemalang, Central Java, Indonesia. Hundreds of stalls burned down. Chaos in the middle of the night. The video starts with scenes that feel so familiar from everyday life. Pasar Pagi Pemalang in Central Java, Indonesia. The place where every afternoon folks are busy buying and selling, getting ready for the end-of-year holidays. Clothing stalls packed close together. Warm yellow lights shining on rolls of fabric. The air noisy but normal in a way that no one would guess. Just minutes later, everything would change completely. From what's shown in the video and local reports, around 5:30 inches the evening on December 2-3 local time, a big fire suddenly broke out in the clothing section of the market. The flames started at one small stall, but they quickly got out of control. Strong winds blowing through the area turned flammable things like cloth, wood, and plastic into fuel, spreading the fire at maybe 10 feet per second. Pictures from the scene show flames shooting up as high as 40 feet, covering nearly 2 acres of the market. Shouts rang out through thick black smoke as vendors panicked and ran for safety, trying to grab whatever they could save. More than 30 fire trucks from the Semarang area were rushed in, and it took almost 3 hours to get the fire under control. The damage was really bad. Over 200 stalls were completely burned, with losses estimated at around $5 million. Luckily, no one died, but dozens of people got burns or smoke inhalation, and many ended up in the hospital, worn out. Local police said, unusual winds made the fire spread faster than anyone expected. The early cause looks like an electrical short, but people are still asking questions. Some think it's just a common accident in traditional markets. But a lot of folks are wondering, especially since it happened right before Christmas, with other disasters happening one after another around the world. What do you think? Is this just an accident, or part of some bigger warning we're seeing? In that light, many connect this to fire images in the Bible. Revelation 18:8 says, "Therefore her plagues will come in one day, death and mourning and famine. And she will be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord God who judges her." And Psalm 97:3 adds, "Fire goes before him and burns up his enemies all around." No matter how you look at it, the fire at Pasar Paji Pemalang isn't just an economic disaster. It's a wake-up call about how fragile our everyday world can be. And when fire breaks out in what feels like the safest place, it makes you wonder, could this be a sign of even bigger troubles ahead? Next, moving from the real flames in Indonesia, we'll turn to another kind of fire, where the line between symbol and reality starts getting scary. 4. Fiery dragon burns at Disneyland. Symbol of evil destroyed in flames. A sign of judgment. The holiday spirit filled Disneyland in late December. Christmas lights sparkled everywhere. Music played, and kids and grown-ups alike waited for the familiar phantasmic show by the man-made river. It was a moment of joy, childhood memories, and that safe feeling where you think only magic and laughter exist. And right in that seemingly harmless setting, something unforgettable happened. From videos taken by guests, on the evening of December 22nd, during the show's big climax, the 45-foot Maleficent dragon suddenly had a problem. At first, it breathed fire just like it was supposed to, but seconds later, the flames got out of control. The dragon's head caught fire badly. The flames spread fast down its body, turning it into a column of fire nearly 60 feet tall that lit up the whole Tom Sawyer Island, over an acre wide. The excited crowd quickly turned panicked. Disney staff kept signaling everyone to leave. People ran in all directions looking for exits, and thick black smoke covered the performance area. No one was hurt, but the show was canceled right away, leaving clear shock on the faces of those who saw it. The dragon, the symbol of evil in the fairy tale, didn't finish its role. It ended in fire. For many people of faith, that picture brings to mind familiar symbols from the Bible. Revelation 12:3 describes a dragon as a picture of the power that opposes God. And then Revelation 20:10 says plainly, "And the devil, who deceived them, was thrown into the lake of burning sulfur. They will be tormented day and night, forever and ever." In that light, the dragon catching fire right before Christmas, the day we remember the Savior's birth, becomes a picture that feels full of meaning, not just a stage accident. But police and Disney officials gave a completely different explanation. They said it was a technical failure in the fire-breathing system, combined with flammable materials and fuel pressure, causing an uncontrolled blaze. Two ways of understanding the event exist side by side. One is technical analysis. The other is a reading full of symbolism and faith. That difference quietly raises the question of which eyes we choose to see the world with. No matter which view you take, the image of the dragon burning up in the happiest place on earth is still something that makes you think. For believers, it's a reminder that evil, even when dressed up in entertainment or fairy tales, can't stand in the end against the light. And when a symbol falls in flames, faith is stirred, not by fear, but by awareness. And coming up next, from the blazing symbol in the theme park, we'll move to an event where fire is no longer just a picture, but real violence in everyday life. 5. Mad gunman at Wilmington, Delaware. DMV hero cop loses his life in bloody violence. Shooting spree during peak hours. On the afternoon of December 23rd, a serious shooting took place at the DMV in Wilmington, Delaware, when a 44-year-old man suddenly attacked law enforcement, killing a state trooper. What was thought of as a safe government office turned into a scene of violence in just a few short minutes. According to authorities, Wilmington, a city only about 30 miles from Philadelphia, was busy with folks wrapping up end-of-year paperwork. The gunman was reportedly upset with the administrative process, brought a weapon, and approached the area where police were working. Employees and customers had to duck under desks and behind counters when the shots rang out. Details confirm that the state trooper was shot from behind while on duty. Even though he was hurt, he still managed to push employees and civilians out of harm's way before getting hit by a second bullet. After about 5 minutes of gunfire, quick response officers shot and killed the suspect. Another officer was injured and taken to the hospital. He's now in stable condition. The aftermath left the area within a half-mile radius of the DMV completely locked down, and the entire Delaware DMV system temporarily closed for the investigation. Governor Matt Meyer arrived at the scene and said briefly, "We have lost a hero. This sacrifice will not be forgotten." The Christmas spirit in the area was immediately overshadowed by a heavy and silent mood. From a faith perspective, many people connect this event to warnings in the Bible. Matthew 24:12 says, "Because lawlessness will be increased, the love of many will grow cold." And 2 Timothy 3:1-2 warns about the last days. There will be difficult times, for people will be lovers of self, lovers of money, boastful, arrogant, without love for God, sudden violence, cold hearts, and the lone sacrifice of someone keeping order. It all feels like a strong indictment of modern society. Of course, opposing views quickly came up. Some experts say this was just an individual's mental health issue and shouldn't be given spiritual or end times meaning. But others ask, why are these extreme acts increasing right during days that should be about peace and love? Are we seeing random events or signs of a deeper moral decline in people? What can't be denied is that violence is creeping into even the most everyday places. The death of a trooper while protecting others isn't just another news story. It's a warning about a society where safe boundaries are getting thinner. The Bible doesn't spread fear, but it calls us to stay alert. And when personal violence has exploded in ordinary daily life, what will happen when the faith of millions rises up in public? The next part will take us to Serbia. 6. Millions of Christians flood the streets of Serbia, declaring it a Christian nation, a spiritual uprising. On the evening of December 22, as the Christmas lights were just coming on in the old streets of Belgrade, Serbia's capital, a quiet crowd started to gather. It began with small groups, then grew into long lines of people, until the whole city seemed covered in footsteps and prayers. When you watch those videos, you can't help but feel something different. No noise, no chaos, but something deeply meaningful. Belgrade was already tense after the train station collapse that angered so many people. Protests against corruption had been simmering for days. But during the Advent season, that wave of anger started to shift. Students, families, priests, and older folks all came out together, not just to protest the government, but to affirm the nation's faith identity. Reports say the crowd stretched more than 5 miles, blocking major downtown roads for nearly 6 hours straight. Estimates range from 300,000 to over 1 million people. They carried crosses, Serbian flags, sang hymns, and chanted together. Serbia is a Christian nation. No violence, no destruction. Police were out in force but stayed back, as if caught up in the solemn moment. Many believers see these scenes as a symbolic fulfillment of Bible passages. Matthew 24:14 says, "This gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come." And Revelation 7-9 describes, "After this I looked, and there before me was a great multitude that no one could count, from every nation, tribe, people, and language, standing before the throne and before the Lamb." For a lot of folks, the crowd in Belgrade wasn't just a protest, it was a picture of spiritual awakening in troubled times. Of course, Opposing views popped up quickly. Some analysts say it was just politics dressed up as religion, that faith was being used as a tool. But the viral videos show something else. Prayers ringing out, priests giving blessings in the square, and tears that didn't look political. Those are hard to fake. No matter how you look at it, you can't deny that amid the unrest, a deep spiritual longing rose up strong. While the world is full of violence and division, the people in Serbia chose to stand together in silence and faith. If faith is rising openly like this in Eastern Europe, what happens when it's suppressed in Western Europe? The next part will take us to Germany. 7. German police crack down on Palestine supporters. Streets turn chaotic. Freedom gets crushed. While Europe is wrapped up in the Christmas spirit, Berlin suddenly turns into a tense hotspot. On December 21, the busy streets of Germany's capital shook as police moved in on a crowd supporting Palestine, kicking off a crackdown that left the whole city holding its breath. What started as a peaceful protest quickly got out of hand. From videos going around, the crowd blocked major roads in downtown Berlin, stretching nearly 2 miles. Chants were cut short by sirens and loud orders. Riot police showed up in force, using batons, chokeholds, and dragging protesters across the cold pavement. The air was thick with chaos and threat. In just a few hours, over 200 people were arrested. Many others got minor injuries, and parts of the city were on lockdown. Eyewitnesses called it like an urban battlefield. Protesters were pushed back, foot by foot. Some dragged dozens of feet through the yelling crowd in despair. Helicopters circled low overhead. Police set up steel barriers, searched homes, and banned gatherings in sensitive areas. Meanwhile, international human rights groups and the United Nations spoke out against the heavy use of force, saying freedom of speech is being choked right in the heart of Europe. German security experts explained the root cause as ongoing geopolitical tensions, plus worries about domestic security and extremism. The government says strong action was needed to stop violence from escalating. But social analysts warn, when talk gets replaced by batons, society slips fast into confrontation. The line between keeping order and suppression is getting dangerously blurry. In this situation, many see an echoing warning from the Bible. Matthew 24:9 says, "Then you will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death, and you will be hated by all nations because of me." And 2 Timothy 3:12 reminds, in fact, everyone who wants to live a godly life in Christ Jesus will be persecuted. These verses aren't meant to judge who's right or wrong, but to alert us that the end times will be marked by rising persecution, suppression, and fear. Of course, some say the police actions were necessary to protect national security. But the scarier question is, if violence becomes the default response of those in power, how long can freedom hold up? When fear spreads, society easily accepts new limits without realizing the cost. The event in Berlin isn't just a suppressed protest, it's a warning. The world is entering a phase where conflict, control, and suppression could become the new normal. The Bible said these days would come not to spread fear, but to wake people up and get them ready. 7 news stories, 7 different pieces, but they all point the same way. The world is shaking. And the real question isn't what's next, but are we ready to face that future? And please let us know in the comments which event makes my warnings hit home the clearest for you. 7 events, 7 different places, 7 pieces that seem unrelated, but when you put them side by side, they paint a picture you can't ignore. These aren't just random accidents or stories you'll forget after reading the news. They're a rush of warning signs, overlapping and spreading from Europe to America, from Asia to Europe, touching everyday life, cultural icons, and people's faith. In Italy, a tanker truck exploded on the highway, tearing it apart and lighting up the sky with flames right around Christmas. In the US, a nursing home collapsed in a massive fire, taking the lives of some of the most vulnerable folks. In Indonesia, a busy market burned down in just hours, turning lifetimes of hard work into ashes. Places that stand for travel, safety, and making a living, one after another, they're falling apart. Like the foundations of normal life are shaking at the roots. Then there's Disneyland, the happiest place on earth, where a fire swallowed up an entertainment icon just before Christmas. The dragon catching fire didn't just scare the crowds. It raised questions. When a symbol of evil burns itself up in front of thousands, is it just a technical glitch or something deeper, like a warning? Along with the fires and collapses comes outright violence. A gunman opened fire in an administrative office in Delaware, killing a police officer. In Berlin, batons and handcuffs took the place of talking things out, turning streets into battle lines. Order is kept by force, while freedom gets pushed down under fear. Things that used to seem rare are starting to feel normal. In the middle of all this darkness, Serbia stands out as an odd bright spot. Hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions, poured into the streets, not to destroy, but to pray. No angry shouting, just singing hymns. No fighting back, just declaring their faith. Amid political chaos, a quiet spiritual uprising is happening, like some force is pulling people the other way, waking them up. When you line up these 7 events, the scary part isn't the size of each one, it's the rhythm. They hit fast, close together in time, spread out across the world, and affect every kind of person. The elderly, workers, families having fun, law enforcement, protesters, believers. Nobody's outside the storm. The Bible described this exact picture thousands of years ago. Matthew 24:7-8 says, "Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains." That word beginning is chilling, because it means what we're seeing isn't the peak yet. It's not just disasters and violence. The Bible also talks about people's hearts growing cold. Matthew 24:12 warns, "Because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold." When nursing homes burn, when innocent people get dragged in the streets, when death becomes everyday news, numbness creeps in like a quiet sickness. At the same time, the Bible talks about a final awakening. Matthew 24:14 says, "And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come." Serbia isn't random. Those crowds praying aren't just a fluke. It's a sign that when darkness gets thicker, light starts gathering too. And the picture wraps up with a serious warning about persecution. 2 Timothy 3:1 says, "But mark this, there will be terrible times in the last days, not just hard times economically or politically, but tough for holding on to faith, truth, and basic humanity under pressure from fear and control." These 7 events don't stand alone. They're like 7 alarm bells ringing from all directions, each with its own tone, but all hitting at the same moment in history. The world isn't slowly sliding into chaos. It's already stepped into it. The clock isn't ticking gently anymore. It's counting down. The question isn't, will the end times come or not? It's, where do we stand in this picture? Are we asleep in the middle of the party, panicking in the crowd, or staying alert in the chaos? The Bible wasn't written to scare us, but to call us to get ready. Humanity's time isn't as long as we think. The signs are lining up, the pieces are fitting together, and the picture is getting clearer every day. The end times aren't some far-off idea anymore. They're knocking on doors in every country, every city, every person. And the final question nobody can answer for you: are you ready? The 7 events we've just gone over are different in where they happened, how they unfolded, and how serious they were. But when you put them side by side, they stop feeling scattered. They fit together into one big picture of a world that's cracking at its foundations, a place where nature is shaking, society is in chaos, people are divided, freedoms are being squeezed, and fear is spreading like a thick fog with no way out. 7 signs, 7 warning bells, ringing one after another, fast and urgent, not giving humanity any more time to ignore them. Looking at the whole thing, This isn't just political crisis, or just social conflict, or just natural disasters. The Bible painted this picture a long time ago, like a roadmap for anyone willing to listen. Matthew 24:6-8 says it plain. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are but the beginning of the birth pains. What we're seeing isn't the end. It's the signs pointing to it. Time, according to the Bible, has never been endless. Romans 13:11 warns, our salvation is nearer now than when we first believed. When events speed up, when chaos stops being the exception and becomes the new normal, that's when we need to pause and ask ourselves, where are we headed? And where is our soul in all this? But God's message isn't only a warning, it's also an invitation full of mercy. Ezekiel 18:23 says, do I take any pleasure in the death of the wicked, declares the sovereign Lord? Rather, am I not pleased when they turn from their ways and live? Right in the middle of this storm we're living through, the door to repentance is still open, prayers are still heard, and grace is still waiting for any heart that's willing to turn back. So, if anything sticks with you after these 7 events, let it not be fear, but a wake-up call. This is the time for each of us to take a hard look at ourselves, set aside pride, repent before God, and pray for our families, our country, and this hurting world. Matthew 24:44 reminds us, therefore, you also must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. We invite you, right now, to leave a comment below with a prayer, a thought, or just how you're honestly feeling about these 7 events. It might be worry, it might be faith, or maybe just a quiet cry to the Lord. You never know. Your words could touch someone who's lost and searching. If these messages mean something to you, please like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss any of the warnings in the videos to come. Every interaction helps spread the word and brings the light of God's truth a little closer to hearts that are looking for hope. Thank you for staying with us to the very end. May the Lord give you peace, wisdom, and watchfulness today and in the days ahead. The world is moving faster than we can catch our breath. Do you feel like time is getting squeezed, with events piling up right before Christmas? Like somebody's speeding up the clock on history? Or maybe we're just standing in front of something really big and really close? In just a few short days, seas have been blocked by warships. The ground has suddenly erupted. Floods have swallowed whole towns. Man-made lights have flashed in the dark. The sky has been torn apart by technology. Society has been ripped by religion. And even modern cities have plunged into blackness. No time to breathe. No time to understand. Just a feeling of chaos spreading fast. Is it all just random? Or are these pieces falling exactly where they're supposed to? If you think there's still plenty of time, pay close attention. Because the news stories coming up will show you what a chaotic world future might really look like. And I won't keep you waiting long, because right now, we're going to start with 1. U.S. Coast Guard seizes Venezuelan oil tanker. Picture this. A dark night on the ocean off Venezuela, suddenly lit up by searchlights as a huge oil tanker loaded with millions of barrels of thick black crude gets surrounded from all sides. You can imagine the scene. A massive metal ship moving slowly through the waves, with fast Coast Guard vessels closing in tight, making the sea feel like it's boiling over, just like those old warnings about troubled times ahead. On December 21st, in international waters off Venezuela, the U.S. Coast Guard moved in and seized the second tanker from the sanctioned shadow fleet. Reuters and Al Jazeera both reported that this wasn't just a routine check. It was a deliberate operation amid rising tensions in world politics. The background makes it all feel even heavier. Back during President Trump's time, Washington stepped up efforts to stop Venezuela from getting around sanctions, with one tanker already seized earlier. Now, the next target, called Bella 1, is being chased hundreds of miles off the Venezuelan coast, according to ABC News and Axios, showing this campaign isn't slowing down. The videos that came out left people shaken. American ships speeding in, special forces jumping right onto the deck, taking control of the crew and sealing off the cargo. Military.com called it the second action in just days, enough to push U.S.-Venezuela relations to the breaking point, like a rope pulled too tight. In all this, the Bible comes to mind with a chilling reminder. Luke 21:25 says, "There will be signs, and nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea." The ocean today isn't just rough from politics. Revelation 16:3 also talks about the sea turning like blood, and the spreading black oil on the water brings to mind warnings about pollution, conflict, and destruction. Of course, arguments broke out right away. Supporters say the U.S. is protecting international order and rules, while opponents call it dangerous provocation. But Axios pointed out, this is part of a bigger, escalating military effort, not just one-off decisions, and that's what's raising fears about global instability. One thing's clear, the sea is stirred up, not just on military maps, but in people's minds too. When money, oil, and military power clash, the results often go way beyond what anyone expects. And this might be another warning sign that the world is getting closer to those days the Bible talked about, urging us all to take a hard look, stay alert, and turn things around before it's too late. 2. A small explosion at Black Diamond Pool in Yellowstone National Park. One surprising moment broke the quiet in Yellowstone. No alarms, no countdown, just a strong burst from underground, with hot mud and steam shooting straight up into the sky. It was all caught clearly on webcam, enough to give you chills. The video spread fast, like nature had just grabbed everyone's attention. On the morning of December 20, in the Biscuit Basin area of Yellowstone National Park in Wyoming, Black Diamond Pool suddenly erupted. Fox Weather and East Idaho News confirmed the mud explosion happened out of nowhere, with no evacuation warnings beforehand. We didn't just hear about it, we saw it with our own eyes, through the shaky frames filled with steam. Yellowstone isn't some stranger to this kind of thing. It's the biggest supervolcano in North America, with a geothermal system always simmering down below. According to the USGS, small mud eruptions like this have happened before, but they're rarely caught on camera as clearly as this one. That's what made the unease spread quicker than the hot steam rising from the pool. Around 9:23 inches the morning Mountain Time, hot mud and water exploded forcefully, shooting up hundreds of feet, as AccuWeather reported. No one got hurt, no buildings were damaged, but the ground shook, and that moment was enough to hold your breath if you were watching. You could really feel it. If it had happened just a few hours, or a few steps different, things could have turned out worse. Scientists were quick to calm folks down. They called it a normal geothermal event, from built-up pressure underground getting released. But when you put that explanation next to the Bible, another way of looking at it comes up. Revelation 8-5 talks about fire thrown down to the earth, with thunder, lightning, and earthquakes. Isaiah 24-19 says plain out, "The earth will break apart. The earth will shake violently." Two views, one from science, one from faith, running side by side, but both agreeing on one thing: the ground down there isn't settled anymore. That's why the argument started up. One side says we shouldn't blow the fear out of proportion, since Yellowstone is still being watched closely and safely. The other side, like what Fox 2 Detroit pointed out, warns that more frequent and stronger geothermal activity is a sign of bigger unrest under the earth, and we can't brush it off. When normal keeps happening too often, the line between steady and warning gets blurry. No matter what you call this event, it reminds us there are forces way beyond what people can control. And maybe, like the Bible says, the Lord is shaking the earth, not to destroy it right away, but to wake us up before it's too late. 3. Serious flash flooding in Redding, California. Everything came apart in just a few short minutes. Water poured down from out of nowhere, sweeping away cars, blocking streets, and turning familiar roads in Redding, Shasta County, into chaotic rivers. On December 21st, the flash flood hit without any warning siren, forcing rescue teams into a race against time as people could only huddle out of the way of the powerful water. According to the Redding Record Searchlight and ABC News, many cars were almost completely swallowed up, with water rising several feet in no time. The background made it even scarier. A storm that sat still for 4.5 hours, dumping 2 to 6 inches of rain, causing widespread power outages and bringing the city to a standstill, as reported by CNN. Once the water receded, the New York Times confirmed one person had died, leaving a heavy silence amid the mud and twisted metal. The speed of the disaster didn't give anyone time to prepare. Warnings went out, but the flood came faster than any plans. We see pictures of rescue vehicles blocked, folks stranded on top of their cars, and that cold question comes up. If this happened to us, would we react in time? Flash floods don't just carry away things, they tear apart that fragile sense of safety we all count on. In that setting, the Bible rings out like a direct warning. Matthew 24:37-39 recalls the days of Noah, when people went about their normal lives right up until the flood came and took them all away. The flash flood in Redding was the same, sudden, brutal, and exposing our built-in complacency. Revelation 12:15 describes a flood pouring out like a river to sweep away, making the images of streets turned into raging currents even more haunting. Weather experts give explanations and warnings. A stationary storm, ground soaked with water, steep terrain speeding up the flow. They say events like this could happen more often, not just in California. These predictions sound scientific, but they lead to the same worrying conclusion. Our human defenses can't keep up with nature's pace, and each unusual event costs more. The scariest part isn't just the damage numbers, but how we get used to disasters. When floods become regular news, our alertness wears down. And as the Bible reminds us, water doesn't just destroy, it also cleanses, revealing what we've ignored for too long. But the story doesn't end there. In the darkness of the flood, with power out and the city quiet, a sudden artificial light appears. That's hope? Or maybe just the last illusion before the next waves come rushing in? 4. First responders light up Golisano Children's Hospital in Rochester, New York. On a cold night in Rochester, New York, lights suddenly flashed in the dark. Headlights and red-blue flashing lights cut through the blackness, bouncing off the tall windows of Golisano Children's Hospital. In that moment, the night wasn't quiet anymore. Have you ever wondered why people always try to bring light, even in the deepest darkness? This is the yearly Good Night Lights tradition, where firefighters and police officers line up outside the children's hospital and turn on their lights to say good night to the kids fighting illness. According to WHEC and 13WAM, it's not some big show. It's just a quiet act of kindness that happens regularly in a world full of bad news. Around 6:30 inches the evening, on Crittenden Boulevard, dozens of emergency vehicles stretch out in a row and flip on their lights all at once. As News 10 NBC reported, that burst of light makes the whole neighborhood feel lit up from the inside. For the sick kids looking out their windows, it's more than just lights. It's a reminder that they're not alone, that people out there are thinking about them. The feelings it brings are real and strong. In a world used to disasters, conflicts, and worry, this moment is like taking a slow, deep breath. But then a quiet question comes up. Is this man-made light real hope, or just a fragile dream in the face of the darkness covering humanity? When the lights go off, what's left? The Bible gives us a deeper way to look at it. John 1-5 says, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." The light in Rochester might come from people, but it points to a greater light, the light from God, who steps into the darkness not just to comfort, but to guide the way. Revelation 22-5 paints a picture of no more night, no need for lamps or the sun, because the Lord Himself is the light. When you put that next to the image of emergency vehicles lighting up the hospital, the message gets clearer. Society is longing for light, but the light we make is limited. It can easily go out in bigger storms. Some say this is just a positive thing, a simple act of community kindness. But there are even local voices in Rochester pushing back. Goodness, as precious as it is, can't replace a solid spiritual foundation. These caring acts are like signs that people are searching for something beyond themselves. Maybe God is using those very lights to remind us that in chaotic times, true light doesn't come from metal and electricity, but from hearts turned toward Him. And as those lights fade out, one by one, the question still hangs in the night. Which light will we hold on to when real darkness comes? 5. 3 planes flew through a no-fly zone after the SpaceX rocket explosion. The sky over the Caribbean suddenly lit up with a loud boom. SpaceX's Starship blew up during a test flight, with flames flashing high up like a tear in the air. In just minutes, the sky that we thought we had under control turned dangerous, and authorities had to set up an emergency no-fly zone. But the trouble didn't stop there. According to reports from the Wall Street Journal and New York Post, 3 commercial planes still flew into that restricted area, right through the spot where the explosion happened. While people on the ground watched pieces falling up in the air, passengers and crew had no idea they were so close to disaster. The FAA said the Starship explosion caused a rain of debris that lasted nearly 50 minutes. A JetBlue pilot had to call out Mayday when facing unknown dangers falling from above. According to Seeking Alpha, some flights had to detour for a long time, almost running out of fuel over the ocean, pushing the risk to an extremely high level. Aviation experts warn plainly, rocket debris doesn't pick and choose what it hits. When technology fails at heights of tens of miles, the results don't stay in a lab. They fall right into civilian airspace, where people are completely helpless. Just think about it. If things had been off by a few minutes or a few degrees, what might have happened to the hundreds of lives on those planes? The Bible once described signs from the sky in a chilling way. Revelation 8:10 talks about a great star, blazing like a torch, falling from the sky, polluting the earth and water. The image of starship debris falling from high up reminds many of a falling star, not from nature, but from human hands. Ezekiel 32:7 also stresses, when God acts, He covers the heavens and darkens the stars. Technology, once praised as the light of our age, now shows how fragile it is. One explosion, one mistake, and the sky quickly becomes a place of risk instead of hope. So this isn't just about SpaceX or those 3 planes. It's about the illusion of control that we're holding on to. We reach for the heavens, but forget how small we still are compared to forces beyond our understanding. When debris falls, it's not just burning metal. It's a reminder that technology can't save us. If today's debris fell into the ocean, what might fall on land tomorrow? When the sky isn't as safe as we thought, is a bigger conflict, not just technical, but in what we believe, quietly building from up high down to the ground. 6. Sikh parade, interrupted by anti-immigration group in New Zealand. South Auckland, New Zealand. A religious parade was going along nicely when it suddenly ran right into a protest against it. The street had been full of bright colors, music, and prayers from the Sikh community, but then it got tense with loud chants and opposing signs. In that moment, you could really see a crack in society showing up, plain and simple. No need to guess or make it bigger than it was. According to the Times of India And Hindustan Times, on December 20 inches, South Auckland, the traditional Sikh parade, called Nagar Kirtan, got interrupted when a group calling themselves Patriots showed up. They were chanting, "One true God," and holding signs that said, "This is New Zealand, not India." Two groups of people with two different sets of beliefs were facing off right there on a public street, with police watching closely. The background made things heat up fast. The protesters were said to be connected to Brian Tamaki, a controversial figure in New Zealand. They performed the haka, blocked the parade route, and confronted them directly, according to Outlook India. No one got seriously hurt, but the standoff was enough to shock a lot of folks. From the Sikh side, community leaders spoke out, calling for protection of their right to practice religion freely and gather peacefully. As reported by the NZ Herald, they pointed out that Nagar Kirtan is a public religious event, legally organized with cultural meaning, not anything political. Their message was to stay calm, talk things out, and respect each other. On the other side, the protesters said they were standing up for the country's identity and their right to speak their minds. Some supporters saw it as a fair protest, while others warned about the thin line between free speech and threatening a religion. Global Times called it a sign of growing extremism, and local observers talked about how complicated a multicultural society can be. Looking at the bigger picture, the Bible has described conflicts over beliefs as signs of divided times. Matthew 24-9 talks about people being hated because of their faith and what they stand for, which fits these clashes when beliefs become dividing lines. Revelation 11:10 mentions some groups rejoicing in times of division, showing that the problems aren't just in the actions, but in the strong feelings that get stirred up. This isn't just about one parade getting stopped. It's a picture of a society trying to balance cultural diversity, free expression, and mutual respect. New Zealand authorities said they're looking into it to prevent it from happening again, and they're encouraging talk instead of confrontation. The event shows how clear social divides are becoming in modern life. When faith, identity, and politics meet on the same street, trouble can start in just minutes. And while conflicts between people haven't cooled down yet, another quiet question comes up. Where will the next shadow come from? From people's hearts? Or from the technology we're trusting so much? 7. Power outage in San Francisco. Waymo cars freeze up. Teslas keep going. Darkness hit San Francisco out of nowhere on the evening of December 20th. No warning sirens. No quick explanation. Traffic lights went out suddenly. Familiar intersections fell quiet. And in that moment, folks realized even the smartest city in the world could go blind for a few minutes. One flick of the switch, and trust in technology started to waver a bit. According to CNBC and Fortune, the big outage affected around 130,000 homes and businesses. Waymo's robo-taxi service had to freeze in place. The cars sat still because their navigation and maps rely completely on power and network connections. Meanwhile, many streets turned chaotic, with people confused in a city that's built to run without much human help. What really surprised everyone was the clear difference right there in the dark. According to PC Mag, some Tesla cars using the FSD system, which relies on AI and real-world sensors, kept moving and adapted to the situation without signals. Pictures of this spread fast, like a real-life example of the tech race. One side frozen because it depends on central systems, the other still rolling through the mess. By the evening of December 21st, Waymo got service back up, according to TipRanks, and plenty of folks praised how quickly the system bounced back. But infrastructure safety experts warned the issue isn't how long the power was out, but how our whole digital world can shut down from just one weak spot. When the electricity goes off, data goes silent, and AI can't do much without the basics that keep it running. A lot of people connected this to major blackouts that happened in France and other European cities, where traffic, hospitals, and public services fell into chain reactions of trouble. Energy analysts warn about a fragile future. The more complicated the systems get, the faster problems can spread. A society that puts all its hope in technology is pushing itself closer to the edge. The Bible describes darkness as a sign of judgment on empires that trust only in their own strength. Revelation 16:10 talks about darkness covering the throne of the beast, where people suffer because what they worshipped falls apart. Isaiah 5:30 also mentions light being hidden, the land in distress, like punishment for human pride in our own achievements. The picture here isn't just one company's failure or one city's problem. It's a tough reminder. When we put our ultimate trust in systems we've built ourselves, darkness only needs a small crack to pour in. Technology can keep improving, but it's not an everlasting foundation for hope. And when the lights go out, faith shakes, and the question hangs in the quiet city: what are we really holding on to stay steady? That's it. We've just gone through the 7 top news stories around the world right before Christmas. Which one made you think the most? Let us know in the comments below. The 7 events that just happened aren't standing alone anymore, like separate news stories. When you put them side by side, they fit together into one big picture that's shaking in pieces. Rough seas, cracking earth, debris falling from the sky, society splitting apart, technology freezing up, and man-made lights trying hard to push back the darkness that's pouring in. That fast pace doesn't give humanity a chance to catch its breath, because everything is happening too quick, too close, and all at the same time. Out on the open ocean, where warships and oil tankers face off, the sea isn't just a trade route or a political border anymore. It's turned into a mirror showing the world's unrest, where power, oil, and military forces clash. Those roaring waves aren't just from ship engines, they come from people's hearts being stirred up. Do you feel it too? How the ocean isn't quiet like it used to be? Then our eyes get pulled deep into Yellowstone, where mud and steam suddenly burst out, like the earth itself is speaking up. Scientists call it geothermal activity, but that shaking echoes old warnings about the ground splitting and trembling. When the earth shifts like that, we realize we're just temporary guests on a foundation that was never completely solid. Floods hit California without warning, sweeping away cars, lives, and that fragile sense of safety. Flash floods don't wait for people to get ready, just like in Noah's time, when everyday life got cut short by judging waters. In those chaotic moments, human overconfidence shows up plain as day. Are we really prepared when everything turns upside down in just a few hours? In the middle of all the bad news, a bit of light showed up in Rochester, when rescue trucks lit up a children's hospital in the dark. It was a touching, human moment that makes you want to believe kindness still has a place. But that light was fragile too. It depended on people, and it only lasted a short while. It's like a reminder. Real light doesn't come from headlights, but from something deeper. Then the sky stopped feeling safe. The SpaceX rocket explosion and pieces falling down forced passenger planes to send out distress calls in mid-air, showing the limits of technology. We've reached space, but one glitch can turn it into dangerous rain on our own kind. When falling stars aren't natural anymore but come from human ambition, the fear feels very real. Down on the ground, society cracked when a religious parade got interrupted by opposing protests. No bombs, no disasters, but divided beliefs cut just as sharp. The shouts, the signs, the glaring looks show how hard it is for people to walk the same path these days. Does it feel familiar? This sense that the world splits into sides faster than it can heal? And then real darkness fell on San Francisco when the power went out. Robots stopped, and the smart city stumbled. Waymo cars froze, Teslas kept going for a bit, but behind the comparison is a cold truth. Lose electricity, and our whole digital world can go blind. When systems crash, trust put in the wrong places crashes too, leaving people standing at dark intersections with no signs to guide them. 7 events, 7 arrows, shot from different directions, but all pointing to the same center. How fragile the modern world is. The sea, the land, the waters, the sky, society, human hearts, and technology aren't working on their own anymore. They're echoing each other in a chain reaction. The rush of news doesn't give humanity a break, like a trumpet blasting non-stop, urging us to look straight at reality. The Bible has long painted a bigger picture than this. Signs in the heavens, shaking under the earth, sorrow and confusion among nations, darkness covering empires that trusted only in their own strength. Those prophecies aren't meant to scare people, but to wake us up, to see that history isn't drifting without purpose. Every event is a piece in a longer story. When you put these 7 events into that flow, they don't seem random anymore. They're like drum beats getting faster, signaling the climax is getting close. Not a specific day or hour, but the state of the world, more hurried, more fragile, with fewer things to lean on. You and I are living in that rhythm, whether we like it or not. In the middle of the chaos, the question isn't what's going to happen next, but where are we putting our trust? Technology, power, systems, and comfort have all shown their limits. When those supports wobble, people have to look for a different foundation, one that doesn't depend on electricity, data, or borders. Revelation ends with a short but urgent line. Yes, I am coming soon. It's not a threat, but a promise that history has an ending. In the storm of news, those words ring out like a call across time, making humanity ask where we stand in this picture. Time isn't plentiful anymore. The pace isn't slow. The 7 events have passed, but their echo still hangs in the air. And as the full picture comes into view, each person has to decide, keep chasing temporary lights or turn back to find the light that never goes out. After all we've been through lately, what sticks with us probably isn't fear, but a deep quiet inside each one of us. When the world gets loud with bad news, when storms hit the oceans, earthquakes shake the ground, society feels torn apart, and technology seems unsteady, we're invited to pause and look inside ourselves. This isn't the time to ignore things or put them off. It's the time to listen to that voice in our conscience and to God's call. The Bible never tells people to panic. It always calls us to repent and come back to Him. Repentance isn't just saying words. It's a real change in how we think, how we live, and where we put our trust. In a world that puts its hope in human strength, power, and systems, the message today is clear. Put the center of your life back on God, the one who doesn't shake when everything else falls apart. Praying right now isn't running away from reality. It's facing it with faith. When we pray, we admit our limits and open our hearts to guidance from above. No matter where you are, whether your faith is strong or you're still doubting, an honest prayer can still open a new path through the chaos. You might be wondering, like so many others, will the Christmases ahead still feel peaceful like they used to? And then there's that hanging question, not to scare anyone, but to wake us up. Could Christmas 2025 be the last one? Nobody knows the day or the hour, but we're all reminded to stay awake. To live like today is a precious chance to turn back before it's too late. If these recent events have weighed on your heart or stirred up some deeper thoughts, don't keep it to yourself. Feel free to leave a short prayer in the comments below or share what you really feel about what's happening in the world. Sometimes, a sincere line or two is a way for us to lift each other up in faith. If these messages mean something to you, please hit like, share this video with folks you care about, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the deeper insights and warnings in the videos to come. Every share isn't just support for the channel. It's a chance for someone else to stop and think. Thank you for sticking around to the very end, for listening, reflecting, and walking this journey with us. May God give you peace in the middle of unrest, light in the darkness, and a steady faith to keep going, even when the road ahead isn't clear.
Oh my God. This is just crazy.
Beam of light stretching towards the heavens, or reaching down from a street lamp like a spotlight from above.
She was not broken or scattered. It appeared careful.
Have you ever wondered if the sky is whispering, the earth is groaning, and ancient secrets are rising up to warn us about an end-time storm quietly closing in, right on the doorstep of Christmas, the symbol of hope and salvation. As time seems to be speeding up, these signs aren't patiently waiting for us to notice anymore. From the dazzling light displays exploding across the sky in Norway, a cross-shaped symbol hanging in the air defying all logic in Ohio, to raging floods shaking Washington state, strange purple-gold beams shooting straight up into the Florida sky. From mysterious hovering lights dangling over neighborhoods across America, to unstable ground shifting in California, Florida, and Washington. And finally, ancient guardian stone figures emerging from the earth in the southwest, all of it coming fast, like an urgent wake-up call. Are these things just random coincidences, or are they piecing together a dark picture of an unstable future, where humanity is about to enter the final days the Bible foretold? Keep going, because the truth ahead might make you pause and ask yourself, if time really is running out, are you ready? So don't skip any of this, folks. These could be messages that God wants to send straight to you. And now, so you don't have to wait any longer, let's dive in and look closely at each of the 7 signs below. We'll start with 1. The northern lights dancing across the sky over Lofoten, Norway. Imagine you're standing there on a freezing cold Nordic night, the sky pitch black like it's sealed shut, and then all of a sudden, it's ripped open by swirling streaks of green light pouring down like a waterfall in the air. That's the northern lights exploding over Lofoten in Norway. Not loud, but enough to take your breath away. If you're there, are you sure you'd just see it as some harmless pretty sight? Or would you wonder, why right now? The Lofoten Islands sit about 800 miles north of Oslo, and they're considered one of the best spots in the world for hunting the aurora. According to forecasts from sites like norway-lights.com, the lights can spread out over hundreds of miles, drawing thousands of visitors every winter. But what really catches people off guard isn't just that the aurora shows up, it's the strength and how unexpected it can be. For night after night, the sky over Lofoten lights up like it's alive and moving, with bands of green light twisting, spreading out, stretching for hundreds of miles. Some estimates even say close to 600 miles. On forums like Northern Lights, plenty of folks who've seen it say the lights appear even when the KP index isn't high, going beyond what regular forecasts predicted. That kind of beauty leaves people in awe, but it also stirs up a quiet unease that's hard to put into words. Scientists explain that the aurora happens when charged particles from the sun hit Earth's magnetic field, creating those familiar glowing bands. To them, it's a natural event that's been studied thoroughly, but locals and visitors often ask something different. If it's just natural, why has the frequency and brightness increased so much? Why does the sky seem more alive than ever? Like it's trying to send a message? In the Bible, Luke 21:25 says, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea." And Matthew 24-29 goes on to warn about upheavals in the heavens, when the powers in the skies are shaken. These verses don't explain the science, but they give the phenomenon a meaning. The sky isn't just for looking at, it's for warning us. So, those dancing lights over Lofoten aren't just a stunning natural picture anymore. They're like a first gentle knock, soft and far off, but enough to make you stop and look up. A warning from the north, not forcing anyone to believe, but not letting anyone completely ignore it either. And if the lights from the north are just getting started, the question is, what happens when the signs aren't vague or beautiful anymore, but take on a much more familiar shape? Because over the skies of Ohio, another symbol is waiting for you to face it. 2. A cross-shaped light in the Ohio sky. A holy symbol suddenly appeared in the night sky, challenging all the usual explanations. A cross of light hanging above a church in rural Ohio, like someone had pulled back the curtain between heaven and earth. It wasn't some vague glow or random shape. This time, the message was too clear to ignore. The sighting happened near Spencerville and Salina, about 100 miles from Columbus. Videos spread quickly on Facebook and local news sites, showing folks pulling over on the road just to look up. At first, some thought it was clouds reflecting lights or maybe a drone, but most people who saw it felt a mix of confusion and quiet awe, like they'd witnessed something beyond everyday understanding. The light was soft and steady, no flashing, no sound, just hanging there in a perfect cross shape, maybe around 300 feet up. No storms, no rain, no weird weather at all. On Reddit, people compared it to other strange lights from the past, but agreed the religious shape made it stand out and sparked a lot of debate. Scientists soon offered the usual ideas, maybe Starlink satellites reflecting sunlight, or a rare optical effect from clouds and lights lining up just right. But the big question that kept the argument going was this: if it's just random, why did it form exactly like a symbol that's meant so much to people's faith for thousands of years and not some other shape? The Bible talks about signs like this in a very different tone. In Acts 2:19, it predicts wonders in the heavens above and signs on the earth below. And Revelation 1-7 goes further, saying, "Look, he is coming with the clouds, and every eye will see him." Here, the Bible isn't some distant warning anymore. It feels like an explanation, giving real shape to what's happening now. On social media, opinions were split right down the middle. Some called it an overhyped coincidence. Others said it was an undeniable divine sign. And maybe the most important question isn't who's right, but if you were standing under that Ohio sky that night, what would you believe and why? No matter how you explain it, that cross of light did one thing. It broke through the everyday neutrality. It forced people to choose between seeing it as just a strange event or a direct reminder of something many try to avoid thinking about. And if the sky is already showing familiar shapes like that, what happens when the next sign isn't way up high, but comes rushing down to the ground? Because in Washington state, raging waters are quietly getting ready to answer that question. 3. Devastating floods in Washington state. You know, in these recent days, raging waters have shaken things up, swallowing thousands of homes in just a few hours. This historic flooding going on in Washington state hasn't given folks any time to get ready. This isn't just a weather warning anymore. It's a real emergency when nature shifts from quiet to hitting hard. According to ongoing reports from the northwest part of the country, flash floods have spread from the Nooksack River to the Lewis River, about 50 to 100 miles from Seattle. Thousands of people had to evacuate in the middle of the night. Many main roads got cut off, bridges collapsed, or were badly damaged. Local and national news outlets describe the amount of water pouring down as equal to nearly 3 Lake Washingtons put together, with hundreds of miles of roads paralyzed. The water rose fast and fierce, in some spots going up 10 to 15 feet in a short time, sweeping away homes, cars, and even structures thought to be solid. According to OPB, the atmospheric river phenomenon, those huge bands of moisture from the Pacific Ocean, combined with the terrain and soaked ground, triggered a bunch of landslides, making rescue work dangerous and every minute counting. Scientists and climate experts explain that climate change is making these extreme rain events more frequent and intense. They say the weather systems are getting squeezed, carrying more moisture than usual, which directly caused this disaster. But even the forecasters admit that many numbers went way beyond what they'd planned for, so the response was slow in those critical first hours. In that situation, the Bible rings out like an ancient indictment being read again. Genesis 7:11 describes the moment. The fountains of the great deep burst forth, and the windows of the heavens were opened, not as some myth, but as a precedent for judgment that happened when order was broken. Amos 9-5 goes on to paint the picture of the Lord touching the land, making it melt and all its people mourn, a reminder that nature isn't always neutral or forgiving. Folks watching are seeing a reality. When the waters rise, there's no middle ground, no absolutely safe spot, just the fragility of people facing a power that doesn't negotiate. The flood doesn't pick victims by faith or ideology. It just moves forward. So, this isn't simply a weather accident. It's a sign that the earth can get angry, and when it does,